The Sleep Number Smart Bed is the best bed for couples, and there's a good reason for that. Only Sleep Number Smart Beds let you choose your ideal comfort and support on your side of the bed. Firmer or softer on either side. Sleep Number does that. Perhaps you want your side cooler, and your partner wants their side warmer. Sleep Number does that too. You choose what's right for you, making it the best bed for the both of you. The Sleep Number Smart Bed will even automatically respond and adjust to your movements to help you sleep comfortably all night long. Your smart bed will even learn how you sleep and provide you personalized insights to help you sleep even better. Why choose a Sleep Number Smart Bed? So you can choose your ideal comfort on either side. Sleep Number Smart Beds start at $9.99. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Exclusively at a Sleep Number store near you. See store or sleepnumber.com for details.
This new year, why not let Audible expand your life by listening? Explore over 1 million audiobooks, podcasts, and exclusive Audible originals that'll inspire and motivate you. Tap into your well-being with advice and insight from leading professionals and experts on better health, relationships, career, finance, investing, and more. Maybe you want to kick a bad habit or start a good one. If you're interested in learning how to master your emotions and hearing scientifically backed advice for using your emotions as a tool, may I suggest Shift by psychologist and bestseller author Dr. Ethan Kross? Trust me, listening on Audible can help you reach the goals you set for yourself. Start listening today when you sign up for a free 30-day trial at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Harry, today was awful for her. She was pronounced dead after 12 minutes of compressions and 23 minutes of shocks. That's more than a grown man's body can endure, and she is so frail. Something keeps sending her back to us. I don't think it is her, if I'm being honest. I think she's trying to let go at this point, and something or someone is sending her back. This is bigger than anything I have witnessed personally. I have heard stories about people being out for this long, but I've never known anyone personally. Her brain scan shows an active brain still. Her mind is unclear because she doesn't talk to anyone. Her pain has to be off the charts like nothing I could explain to you. I can't believe this. I just can't believe she went through this. She was doing so good and seemed to be improving drastically this last week. Everyone was agreeing her improvement was incredible. Then this. I don't know how you're doing, and if you need to speak to someone as well, I just hope you're able to take care of yourself and know when to ask for help. I don't really have words for what she went through today. Tomorrow, a few tests will be run to check internal damage from all of this. Tonight, I'm letting her be still and rest. She's awake, as she always seems to be, but she's pretty still and quiet, which is good. I can tell she's in a lot of pain and is upset about it, and I'm trying to help her manage it as much as I can. The brain scan she got today showed pretty intense patterns, consistent with someone in extreme pain. So we are monitoring her even closer. Hang in there. This is the same as before, though. The next 24 hours are critical. I'm going to sit with her for a little longer. I'm just so heartbroken.
Those were the words of Dr. Holt on the evening of September 10th, 2023, after I was told by Rachel's daughter that she had been pronounced dead. Rachel's daughter actually ended up messaging me just a few minutes after those awful words and said that one of the doctors refused to give up and had stayed and was able to revive her. So, those words were the words that I read in a shared note later that evening from the doctor, the note that Rachel and I kept. Because she didn't have a power of attorney, no one from the family was getting updates. And I was led to believe that Dr. Holt was providing these messages through Rachel's phone. For me, that phone became my lifeline during this experience. Rachel, she wielded the exact same phone. But for her, it was a weapon, her preferred delivery system for emotional terrorism. And here's the thing about terrorism. It's calculated. It's precise. Did you catch how he said at the end of the note, "I don't know how you're doing, or if you need to speak with someone yourself. I just hope that you're taking care of yourself and you know when to ask for help." That was terrorism. That was Rachel writing to me saying, "I put you through the fucking ringer with this shit today. And I know you. I've known you for over 20 years. And I know you're falling apart right now. I've seen how this has destroyed you for a year and a half. It's probably time to get some help." How sick is that? And Rachel, she was a master strategist. While I was sleeping with my phone under my pillow waiting for news of her death, she was living her life. Still married to Mark, traveling all over the world. She was seeing other men besides Mark, even before Russ became the new full-time side piece. She was texting from her supposed deathbed while starting her next con. There's an interesting twist that coincided with Rachel's near-death episode on September 10th, a detail that her youngest daughter revealed to me and that Holt helped to provide color on. At the exact same time she was pretending to be on the verge of death, she met Russ. He started working at the American Airlines Piedmont station in September of 2023, just over 3 months before her entire house of cards with this scam would come crashing down. Imagine it. She was texting me from her hospital bed, barely clinging to life, while simultaneously flirting with Russ and sleeping with him. She was already ramping up a new relationship as she was ramping me down. Looking back, this coding event, this elaborate piece of her grand deception stands out. She had no shortage of tricks, and this was just one in a long line of fabrications. You remember when I told you I asked her outright, "Why didn't you just tell me the truth?" And her answer? It was just as absurd as everything else was.
"I tried to get you to leave me."
She tried with everything, except honesty, except the truth. Rachel didn't just fake one medical emergency. She pulled that stunt 9 times in 18 months. 9 times. Coding. Memory loss, protective isolation, dire warnings from doctor. All scripted, all designed to manipulate and control and trap me.
"I want you to come see me. I really do, but Dr. Hightower is insisting on this protective isolation. No one is allowed in or out except for doctors. I miss you so much, and I love you with all my heart."
She said she wanted me to leave, but every action screamed the opposite. She clung to me, twisting my sense of responsibility, my love, into weapons. And why? Because I guess admitting the truth wasn't an option. Admitting the truth meant admitting she was a liar, and that was never in Rachel's playbook. It wasn't about love. It wasn't even about me. Rachel wasn't interested in truth. She was obsessed with control. Her schemes weren't just lies. They were intricately designed psychological traps, ensnaring everyone who got too close. And even when the walls finally closed in, even when the deception was exposed, her only response was deflection and self-pity. Not once did I ever hear,
"I never had cancer. I was never pregnant with our baby. I was never in the hospital. And I never wanted a relationship with you."
That would have been the easy way out. But more importantly, that would have required accountability. And that's where Rachel draws the line. Efficiency, after all, is a virtue. Rachel was indeed captivated by the allure of the easy route. It's part of her signature. It's a shame that the easy route often comes with a complimentary side of unintended consequences. The lengths she went to just to keep me around are baffling. And even after she was caught, she still tried to control the story. I asked her at one point if I could go through some of the details of the story with her, just to hear her version of events from those long fabricated hospital stays. She agreed. 4 questions in, she snapped.
"If you're going to keep treating me like a liar, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm tired of being the liar to everyone, everywhere I go.
She needed to control everything, even in her downfall. Rachel was a one-woman emotional suicide bomber. And in September of 2023, she detonated the final act of her one-woman play, this near-death experience, followed by a miraculous recovery. Now, the woman who emerged was not the same, or so the story went. Memory wiped, personality altered. That woman would not ever be the same. This was indeed the final act of that one-woman play. Her way to push me away while keeping her fantasy alive and keeping her story intact. Certainly, at a minimum, she weaponized my capacity for empathy for her. Not just a cancer scam and paralysis and brain surgery and all that, but she weaponized my desire to protect her. Does that make sense to you? From the moment that I discovered her scam, it felt like pulling on a single loose thread, only to watch an entire sweater or jacket unravel before my eyes. Each tug revealed another layer of deception, more intricate and shocking than the last. I wasn't just dealing with the fallout of one lie. I was uncovering an entire lifetime of them, woven together into a web that I never saw coming. Now, much has transpired between the start of season 1 and now. And what I didn't realize when I started this journey of sharing my story was that I wasn't alone in the dark. When season 1 was over and I turned on the lights, I found that I was surrounded by others who had been trapped in the same darkness. Rachel hadn't just fooled me. She had left many others for dead too, in her own way. The other thing that happened is while the episodes were coming out and people began to hear the story, I slowly began to hear from people that I didn't know were connected to Rachel. Friends and family members, co-workers, and people that worked at the airport, at different airlines, or for the county that just knew her. They had some interaction with her. I was also hearing from complete strangers who had their own stories to tell, which were from their own lives, nothing to do with Rachel, just sharing things that were their own, survivors of cons. That old expression, the sheep, they find each other. It's an apt description of what happened here. Stories of lies, stories of deceit, stories of manipulation. There's no shortage of them. I began to see and realize that I wasn't alone in any of this. It wasn't just me, not by a long shot. I want to provide you with some additional insight. There's something interesting that happened while I was writing. During that process, which happened between March and June of 2024, sleep was eluding me, and she was appearing in what little sleep I had in my dreams. I suppose that that's probably to be expected when you spend your days unraveling someone's lies. I'd hear her voice clearly. I'd see her face. I'd swear I could smell her perfume. And for a moment, it would feel real. And then I'd wake up to the crushing reality that this woman, the woman that I once loved, had created a world of deceit that I had been living in without even knowing it. Those dreams, they were torturous. And they still happen from time to time. I'm sure some of you listening can relate. You know how our minds work when we replay things and they appear in our dreams. When someone betrays you, their presence can haunt you even after they're gone. These dreams, they were vivid and haunting in a way. I took a beat when I was finished with the production of it all over the summer of 2024. July and August, I needed it. And when I went back to listen, which I did with you as the episodes were being released starting in October, it was almost like I was listening to someone else's story. I was feeling someone else's pain and heartbreak. It may sound funny, but I could barely recognize my own voice through the pain. It was like an out-of-body experience. And yet, that voice, it was mine. It was tough to listen to. And put aside that you're listening to yourself sharing everything with a group of people that you don't know. I mean, let's face it, you and we're never going to meet. Our paths are likely to never cross. I'm going to provide you with a deeper dive into the cancer scam itself and the hospital stay. There'll be more detail in each episode this season, some of it graphic, some of it shocking. Just brace yourself and think back to the disclaimer that I gave you during episode 1. It's all just so much. Rachel first told me about her cancer in 2012. At the same time, she shared her story about taking classes toward her law degree and that she had divorced Mark. She told me that she was working nights at a local hospital as an LVN or vocational nurse. It's a step below the RN. I talked about it last season. It seemed plausible to me, and at the time I had no reason to doubt her or think she was lying. She told me that in 2016 she completed law school and she sat for the bar. She passed. She told me that she was working in Bobby's father's office under him. Now, in California, there's a program where you can do online law school and work in basically what amounts to an apprentice program. It's a real program. California is the only state in the country that has this program. I did a little bit of research on it. And in the history of this program, there's only one person who's completed it and passed the bar and gone on to work as a lawyer. Of course, Rachel would make herself that one person. Why wouldn't she? Those lies about being an LVN, law school, and her cancer were in place for 10 years before we went on our first real date on August 27th of 2021. I say first date, we had met originally back in 2001, but never really had a date, never really acted as a couple. And after that date, the foundation had been poured. She began framing everything up. The seeming gaps between reality and the tale she wove were just huge. It wasn't until I told her that I wanted to be with her, though, and she said yes. From that time to the time she put her plan into place, she activated it. She was this one-woman sleeper cell. Her story was crafted and ready to be implemented. She executed it. The months she'd be in the hospital, the isolation, the surgeries, the endless harrowing treatments, and the memory loss. I got to believe it was all in her head somehow, somewhere. This part of her scam ran from June 5th of 2022, the day she told me she was taken by ambulance from her home in Atascadero to French Hospital in San Luis Obispo, until I learned the truth on December 20th, 2023. Rachel claimed that chemo began on May 5th of 2022. That was the last day that I saw her on our trip to Santa Barbara, May 4th and May 5th. On the morning of the 5th, we woke and parted ways. It would be the last time I'd see her until after the scam was exposed. She claimed that she was heading from Santa Barbara to Templeton Hospital, Twin Cities Hospital, where she'd go to their infusion center and begin chemotherapy. She'd have her first dose of doxorubicin, or what they call the Red Devil. And because of her heart issues, they'd need to slow down the process, and it would be something along the lines of 6 or 7 hours to get her the dose that Dr. Hightower from MD Anderson wanted her to have. She visited that same infusion center several times, but each time the chemo affected her heart rate in a negative way. It was significant. It would slow the process down, ending up at 8 or 9 hours. This was a full day, including the pre-meds. Her heart was weak, she claimed. The other doctor at MD Anderson in Houston was a guy by the name of Dr. Steele. He was deeply involved in the process. He was a cardiologist. Rachel claimed that Steele was deeply concerned about her heart. It needed time to rest. And I shared part of this story with you on episode 8. He tried to keep her asleep as much as possible. And there's a part of the story that's small, but it's important. But I want to share that with you too. During May of 2022, prior to the hospital stay, Rachel had that event where she coded in the hospital. I shared it with you. Her youngest daughter, who she claimed was in the hospital with her the whole time, gave me play-by-play, and she shared with me that she heard a nurse yell from Rachel's room, "I have a heartbeat." That all happened at around 2 in the afternoon. It was May 10th. It would be late in the evening before I heard back from her on that day. The daughter checked in with me a few times after they stabilized her. When she woke, she was groggy. She was in tremendous pain from being shocked twice. She actually ended up sending me a picture of the burn on her chest with the help of Photoshop. That's another picture I posted in the trove of pictures on our Instagram and Patreon accounts. She had an issue during her coding resulting from lack of oxygen, which caused some swelling in her brain. And that swelling caused memory issues. And this would be the first time she would pretend not to remember who I was to her in her life at that moment. I was just the friend with benefits, the man that never picked her. That guy. I was crushed. I can't really articulate to you what that felt like to me. She claimed that everything from the last 10, 12 years or so has just disappeared. Any recollection of us as a couple was gone. Of all the things that she did to me, this is right up at the top in terms of the most cruel. I asked her a bunch of questions. She couldn't answer any of them correctly. I asked her about the young girl in the room with her, and she said,
I think it's my daughter, but she looks so much older than I remember her.
She claimed to be very confused. This obviously had me troubled. I tried to be patient and tried to do a little bit of research without driving myself crazy, but I had difficulty with that too, as you can imagine. The next morning, some things were coming back to her, and she was able to explain that the doctor had told her that they had put her on some medications that would reduce the swelling and that would hopefully fix this memory issue. And sure enough, it did. By the next evening, things were back to normal. This was just days before my birthday, and we had planned that trip to Disney. It was a week before Madison's high school graduation, and you know the rest of that part of the story already. The events that would follow led to her being admitted to the hospital. That happened on Sunday, June 5th, 2022. That was the start of the hospital stay. And I was made aware of the scam on December 20th, 2023. That's 563 days that I lived in that world. The alternate reality that she created, where every text, every journal entry, every message from the fake doctor and from her were part of that storyline. 563 days, 562 nights. I lived those days and those nights, so many of them sleepless, with my phone under my pillow, waiting for it to ring, waiting for news, waiting to find out if the woman that I loved more than anything in the world was alive, or if the next time I saw her, it would be in a hospital morgue, and then at a wake where I'd be placing a picture of us beneath her folded hands. It's hard to put into words the kind of mental prison that I lived in, thinking that she was dying. And what's really troubling, and this is where the intentional infliction of emotional distress comes in, Rachel knew what was happening to me emotionally, how this was impacting me. And she knew exactly how to keep me there. She could have released me from my mental prison at any time, but it was just too entertaining for her. She was enjoying it too much. When she sensed that things were really dark for me, she would ask for a picture or to send a video. She knew it was impacting me, and I suppose that she knew I could be in trouble. And instead of stopping, she would just say,
Harry, please leave me. Go live your life.
What she omitted, the lie by omission, was, go live your life because I'm actually living mine right now.
Rakuten is the smartest way to save money when you shop because you earn cash back at over 3,500 stores. Fashion, beauty, electronics, home essentials, travel, dining, concert tickets, and more. Your favorite stores like Lowe's, Levi's, and Nike pay Rakuten to send them shoppers. And Rakuten then passes on a part of that payment to its members as cash back. You're already shopping at your favorite stores. Why not save while you're doing it? It's a no-brainer. Membership is free and easy to sign up. Get the Rakuten app now and join the 17 million members who are already saving. Cashback rates change daily. See Rakuten.com for details. That's Rakuten. Your cash back really adds up.
She could see it in my eyes. As a matter of fact, she used to use that line, the origin of which escapes me now, but the line is,
My Harry, your eyes tell on you.
When it was bad, she would routinely say,
This is not what you signed up for.
No, it sure as hell wasn't what I signed up for. She set out to curate a detailed journal documenting her journey for me in the form of a health journal, where she wrote about her daily treatments for pain, her experiences with the doctors and nurses. And for the first 4 months, she populated that journal every single day. Painstaking details She provided the play-by-play for each day to me. Exams, medications, side effects, every single detail. The amount of work that she put into scamming me is amazing. And that's because it was for sport. She was obsessed with the character she had developed. The one in love with me. The one that was about to die and break my heart forever. I want to share some of the journal entries for you now. Here's just an example of what she'd provide for me every day, starting on July 7th of 2022, just over a month after the alleged hospital stay began.
5:12 a.m. Meds given nurse came in, hung 2 small bags on the IV pole, and connected them to my IV. The meds started. They burn as they are coming through the vein. The nurse checked my IV cath tubing, emptied the cath bag, and checked my EKG and blood pressure cuff. She took my temperature. She checked my legs and feet for numbness and neuropathy. 6:30 a.m. Wound nurse came in to apply medication to pressure sores and cover them up. She checked my body for new sores. Minus 6:45 a.m. The nurse came back with 2 more medications and hung them on the IV.
Soon, I'll make all of these documents public. The complete health diary. You'll be able to see it for yourself and the level of detail and effort that she put into making this all seem real. These things she wrote about, it's hard to even wrap your head around. She described undergoing rounds of chemotherapy and radiation in the same day when things were dire. The long nights, the fear, the countless tests, exams, and scans. She wrote about how despondent she felt about the hand she had been dealt. She wrote about the agony of it all. But the only one in agony ended up being me. She'd send the occasional selfie, which showed edema from the chemo, the radiation, and her kidney issues. I've posted several of those pictures on our social media, pictures done, as it turns out, in Photoshop. Amidst the avalanche of medical data that she was providing, a chilling truth emerged, something so over the top I just couldn't believe it. Rachel's account of what was transpiring pointed at the horrifying reality that she was being touched inappropriately at times. These encounters, as Rachel would call them, were perpetrated by the very medical professionals entrusted with her care. I want you to think about that aspect of things on its own. You heard the quote from Rachel's own sister, Sherry, who Rachel killed off in our story. She said Rachel had been assaulted 100 times in her own mind. The stories were obviously so difficult to comprehend, and they got so bad that just before the truth came out, she had crafted a narrative that an entire unit at French Hospital was being investigated by the police. Rachel created a character by the name of Dr. Jared that was the supposed ringleader of a group of doctors. They were systematically having their way, in various ways, with women in this unit. She went as far as to tell me that in 2 separate instances, she was given a rape kit, including one just a month before the scam was exposed. She shared a series of horrific events that led to a fight between Dr. Holt and this Dr. Jared, where police were called. She claimed both doctors were arrested. She indicated at that point that every woman on the floor, every woman in that unit was given a sexual assault kit. There's something strange that happened during that particular event, though. It has to do with timing. That fight between Holt and Dr. Jared, which she concocted, happened over a weekend that I had flown home to Boston for a few days. She was aware of the trip. She encouraged me to go. But during that weekend, the stories of the assaults grew worse. And looking back on it, it seemed to me that she was doing everything that she could to see to it that I wouldn't be able to focus on relaxing with friends for a few days. I had isolated myself during this time. But now I was with friends, finally taking some time in Boston, at home, to breathe for a minute. So she made sure to take that oxygen away, to choke me out. She turned up the level of drama. She created additional horrific events that I'll share with you in an upcoming episode. I'll share one part of the story with you now, though, so you get a bit more of an understanding of it and the length she went with this narrative. She began to allude more to the assaults happening on a consistent basis, and I asked for detail. She reluctantly obliged. I pressed. She begged that I not write about it in a note to Holt, that shared note, the same place that he sent me that note at the beginning of this episode that you heard. I obliged, but when I learned of one particular incident, I couldn't help myself. I was furious. I wrote to Holt about it. He asked me for more detail. He was ready to go to the department chief and report Dr. Jared to the police. It would take almost a day to get him the information that he wanted. This was all while I was in Boston, by the way. I provided it, and he, Rachel, who pretended to be him, pretended to be sick over it. At one point he said, "Thank you. I need to let you go. I need to go hunt for a doctor." Dr. Jared was working that night. He had been assaulting Rachel repeatedly, and he was in the hospital. He led me to believe he would stop this. A few hours went by, and I got a text from Rachel.
Holt and Dr. Jared just had a fight in the doorway to my room, when Jared tried to push his way in. He said he had a right to treat his patient. The police came quickly, and security was there almost immediately, and both men were led away.
I was physically ill. I threw up the dinner I had just finished. My note to Holt had caused him to react and led to this fight. And now the one advocate she had in that hospital had been arrested and would likely lose his privileges in French. And I had caused this. I ended up calling the San Luis Obispo PD the next morning while sitting at Logan Airport after trying to find something on the local police blotter about it. There had been only one arrest at French Hospital, and it was a woman. When I called, they asked for a bunch of detail. And they also asked if I wanted to speak to a detective and file a complaint. And I thought about it. And I said no. I knew Rachel would be furious, and I was trying to find out what I could. I wish now that I had said yes. All this happened just 2 days before Rachel was set to be moved from French Hospital to a nearby rehab facility which had a critical care unit which Holt had arranged for. She claimed that because she wasn't communicating with the doctors at that point, and she was refusing treatment at times, that they were considering hospice for her over the summer of 2023. Rachel claimed that she removed any power of attorney and no one could make decisions for her, but she started to refuse treatment, not communicate with doctors. I was the only one she was communicating with. No one from her family or me were able to step in. Because she was refusing these treatments and not communicating, Holt had to jump to her rescue because of the hospital's desire to put her into hospice. He had told me that if the hospital was successful, they would send her to hospice and then essentially just leave her there to rot. Stop all cancer treatments, stop all sorts of treatments, put her on morphine and let her go. But he succeeded in becoming her power of attorney, succeeded in having her moved to the rehab facility. That was actually pending. But would all that still happen given what just transpired between Holt and Jared? I'll fill in the blanks there and provide more play-by-play on that horror story, but I wanted to give you a sense of that. So now that you've heard all of that, I want you to think about something bigger than just my situation. We've all heard stories about women who have truly been sexually assaulted. We've heard the stories that no one believed them. You know how that happens. When people like Rachel lie about sexual assault, her behavior, it casts doubts on people who really get assaulted, who are truly victims. It's completely awful and unforgivable. As if lying about cancer isn't bad enough, you're now making up fake sexual assaults. Anyway, the fight with Jared and Holt happened over that weekend that I was in Boston, and this was the first weekend that she started spending time with Russ. She was obviously still married to Mark. She had been seen by neighbors. Russ was still married at the time. He's just recently now, in the last few weeks, been divorced. I was told by a reliable source that Russ had cheated on his wife. He got caught and his wife left. That cheating relationship didn't last, and he moved on to another woman and then met Rachel when he started at the SLO airport. I know very little beyond that regarding Russ's situation, but this would be about 50 days prior to finding Rachel at Russ's home. Mark finding Rachel at Russ's home. I ended up cutting my trip to Boston short because I just wasn't functioning. I had a difficult time getting out of my own way, as you can imagine. Regarding that protective isolation, people ask me about that all the time. That groundwork had been laid by Rachel over a year prior to that. There was no way for me to see her. She indicated that this Dr. Hightower would allow only one doctor in per shift. These doctors were always male, and they were responsible for every bit of her care. She'd talk about how they would touch her sometimes. Sometimes things didn't feel right. Hands and fingers lingered. Doctors allegedly made remarks as well. This was obviously her way of either testing me to see how much I could take or just push me away. Look, let's be honest. The entire scam was created to see what I could take and to push me away. The issues with her care weren't centered around just inappropriate touching either. At one point, at around the 7-month mark, after she claimed to be paralyzed, she described the process of having a drain tube put into her lung, which is an awful and uncomfortable procedure. She indicated that the insertion of that drain tube was done without anesthesia of any kind. She claims that the doctors knew she had feeling from the waist up. And she said to me,
"They don't think I feel anything because I don't move or flinch.
I couldn't believe what I was hearing.
They clearly knew I was in pain and did nothing about it."
These moments of medical negligence that she describes like that are so severe and are clearly malpractice. They're the kind of things that if they were true, they would have been front page news, the lead story on the 11 o'clock news, viral in the worst way. And Rachel concocted an abundance of them. And all the while, she was lying. I had fallen in love with a monster. So many moments were spent trying to figure out how to manage my emotions during this time, how to deal with things that were happening that I knew were either criminal or just plain negligent. I believed that I was caring for a woman that I would spend the rest of my life with. And right now, she has no recollection of us as a couple. Added to the stress of what I thought she was experiencing, it was tough enough to be away from her, but the protective isolation part of the story would keep me away from her for so long. At the point where she had coded and they pronounced her dead on September 10th of 2023, that was 15 months into the hospital stay. How much energy did this all take from her? She spent every day with me, hours at a time. I was just a player in her twisted game. Game of manipulation, game of deceit. I touched on feelings of shame and guilt that I was having at the end of last season. One of the therapists I spoke to said that I had no business in either place. Shame is the belief that you're a bad person, and guilt is the belief that you did something wrong. She said you didn't do anything wrong. You were systematically victimized. Those words hit me hard. She was right. A years-long campaign had been crafted. One of manipulation, which, when it was time to be unleashed on me, was designed to make me doubt myself. And when I finally exposed my truth, she did exactly what narcissists and manipulators do. She tried to push it back on me. And for those of you who have heard the term gaslighting and don't really know what it is, this is a prime example. She did everything wrong and then tried to convince me that I was the problem. For those of you that have been gaslit in a relationship, I guess we're a family now. I'm sorry if you've had to deal with it. I know exactly how you feel, and it's the worst. One of the biggest surprises for me, after I found everything out, learned the truth, going back 22 years, that it all was a lie, was that she hadn't just done it to me. All 4 of her kids, her mother, her sister, her cousins, her coworkers, the people she works with, and still currently works with American Airlines, her friends, Mark, her first husband Todd, Brad, the first boyfriend, and every single man she had been involved with. Each one can add to examples of her deceit. So many people were sucked into her web. My conversations with Rachel's oldest daughter, the daughter formerly known as Madison, they were eye-opening. You'll hear from her in a couple of episodes. I'll share this for now. The most shocking part of our conversation, most illuminating thing, was hearing that Rachel blamed her for the family's problems and the breakup of the family. When Madison discovered that her mother had been cheating on her father and shared that information with her sister, Rachel's response was to shame her. She told her daughters that Madison was responsible for breaking up the family.
This is your fault.
What kind of parent does that? Who looks at their child and says, "This is your fault," when it was Rachel who lied, cheated, and destroyed the family from within? That kind of emotional damage is pretty hard to comprehend. You're probably saying the same thing that I was when I heard that. Who's the adult here? Who cheated? Who lied? Well, Rachel did. She did it all the time, literally from the beginning of her marriage to Mark before Madison was born. A friend of mine once said to me that the person who cheats on their husband or wife is also cheating on their entire family. You'll hear from the daughter formerly known as Madison in her own words in just a bit. I left you with another cliffhanger at the end of last season. That voicemail from Mark. You'll hear his side of the story as well. His interview will be 2 episodes long, and it's coming up in just a few more episodes. And as of the writing of this season, he's still awaiting his divorce with Rachel. And for that all to be finalized, imagine that they're still married. The way she plays with people, not just her daughters, her coworkers and friends, all of those, but the men in her life as well, it defies description, doesn't it? And when she's done with you, when she's bored or ready to move on, she turns the narrative against you. She paints you as the villain. She spreads lies, vicious, damaging lies about you to anyone who will listen. She victim shames. She did it to all of us. She did it to me.
I don't know who this man is that has written this podcast. I have never had a relationship with him, and I haven't ever told anyone that I was a lawyer, ever.
She did it to Mark. She did it to her daughters. She did it to her mother and her sister. She told me that her mother was dead to her. And you know that she said her sister, Sherry, had been killed in that accident. She did it to coworkers at the airport. She's done it to every single man she's been involved with, certainly every man that I have found. With men, she makes you believe that she's in love with you. She makes you think that what you have with her is life-changing, earth-shattering. She draws you in, makes you feel like you're the only person in the world who truly understands her. Her type of love bombing is that type that scorches the entire earth, leaving everyone around for dead. When I learned that Rachel had been lying about everything, that information was relayed to me on December 20th of 2023. It was exactly 2 years from the day she told me that her cancer was back and that we were pregnant, coincidentally. I texted her and I said, "Do you know Russ?" And I gave his last name. And she said,
No.
I said, "Are you sure?"
No, I don't know who that is.
I said, "Where are you right now? You're not in the hospital. You're not paralyzed. You can actually talk. You can walk. You haven't lost 10 years of your memory." You know what she said to me?
My situation has changed and I haven't included you.
There's nothing wrong with the audio feed. Don't bother looking for buttons on your phone to press. It took a minute. I want you to digest that line. My situation has changed, and I haven't included you. She didn't flinch. It didn't waste a second of time. That was it. There was no remorse or reflection. There was self-preservation, covering her ass. That was her confession, if you can call it that. My friend, Agent Grasso, said to me, Rachel had every single word in the English language to choose from, and those were the words she chose? That's an entire psychology class on its own. If this were a video game, her con would have started simple back in 2001 when I met her, like Pong, a black and white screen, a ball bouncing back and forth, one sound effect. But now, in 2024, the game's in virtual reality. It's 4K, it's hyper-realistic. Put on the headset, and suddenly, you're in it. You can feel the emotions, the fear, the love, the heartbreak. It's all consuming. And before you know it, you're lost in her world. But here's the thing about her game. No one ever wins. Everyone who plays loses something. Dignity, self-worth, trust in people, and much more. She plays her game without remorse. She doesn't see people as people. She sees them as pawns. as roles to fill. When you're useful, you may be cast as the lead, the hero, the love interest, the savior. But when you're no longer useful, you're written off the script. You're written out of the game. You're discarded. You're forgotten. Look, what Rachel did. She sold her body. She sold her soul. She stole. She committed fraud. She faked multiple pregnancies, lied to friends, killed people off, including family members and friends. She crafted a series of outrageous scams, one after another. The game isn't about love. It's about control. It's about power. And in Rachel's game, she's the only one that ever gets to win. She crafted a tale and a game that could be its own series. And in Rachel's game, she shows up unannounced and says, let's take a ride. And the next thing you know, you find yourself out on Interstate 15 as the lights of Barstow appear over the horizon. And the music comes up. You know that music, the foreboding music. Something bad is about to happen. The hair on the back of your neck stands up, feels tingling, like static electricity. And the next thing you know, she's reaching over, unclicks your seatbelt. She slows her crazy car down and changes lanes, slides over to the breakdown lane, while the car's still moving, reaches over your waist and flips the door handle out and says,
"Get the fuck out of my car."
She doesn't slow to a stop. She just opens the door and tosses you out while it's moving. And you go tumbling down the I-15, ass over tea kettle. Now, I have a message for you. This isn't a message for you, the listener. It's a message for Rachel, because we know she's listening. She can't help herself. Rachel, my situation has changed too. But unlike you, I'm including you and your husbands, your ex-lovers, every single one of them that I can find. I'm including your sister Sherry and your mom and your cousins in Texas and Cape Cod and all over the place. I'm including your coworkers and your friends and anyone else that you ever touched emotionally or physically. For all of those that you've wronged, I am now their advocate. I'm their voice. Understand that. Every single day, I'll continue to learn about who you hurt and how you hurt them. My voice will be the voice of your victims. You'll hear them on this podcast, people you worked with, people that you faked love with. They can now depend on me and speak through me. I'll do everything I can for them. But the one thing I can't do, I can't ever begin to explain to them why you did it, why you still do it, and what happened to you, what trauma you suffered that caused you to be what you are. Rachel, I promise you one thing. When this is over, you will understand why I am the messenger. On the next episode of The Rachel Cancer Scam, my conversation with Rachel's first husband, Todd, married to her in 2000 when she was just 19 years old. And Rachel commits perjury on the next episode of The Messenger, The Rachel Cancer Scam.